Our next stop on previewing Region 11 high school football this season is with the Bear River Bears. Coach Trampis Waite is new to the Bears, not new to this program. We've had a chance to interview Coach before, but Coach, thanks for taking some time today as we help preview what's going on to the Bears this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for covering us.
I guess first question for me is, now that you've spent some time on campus with these players and in the community, what are your, perceptions about how things are going so far compared to what you anticipated they would go now that you're in the thick of it for a little while?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is kind of like I mentioned before. The kids' attitude has been really impressive. I especially from what they had to go through last year. They've been willing to learn new stuff. They've been diving into our offense and defensive schemes, and they've been really excited about what's going on. And luckily we've been able to get with the youth programs and get our high schoolers down there, and so we've been kind of engulfing ourselves in the community. We just finished our red and black scrimmage, and I was pretty pleased with what we were able to get done that day. We got a lot of work to do, but we got some rust off, and now it's just kind of teaching our kids how to win again, and that's kind of our biggest challenge.
So kind of just talking briefly, I guess, talking about last season, like, do you talk about that with the team, going 0-10, or do you try to just move on from that, or do you try and use it as like a teaching opportunity and kind of go over some of those struggles from last season?
Yeah, we don't mention it much. We're moving forward, like I said, with a whole new staff and a whole new scheme on both sides of the ball. We're moving forward, and like I said, the attitude that we have is not what usually you see with teams that go 0-10. And we got a tough division, but our kids have been resilient and ready for a challenge, and I think they're just ready to win. So, we really don't have to look backwards. We got a lot of stuff to get accomplished. We got a lot of stuff to learn, and we're kind of all focused on Morgan and moving forward this year. So.
Bear River has always produced great quality talent, so it's fun to see how this change may kind of ignite some of that has been not quite firing on all cylinders for whatever reasons. But I can't remember the last time we spoke if you had your full complement of your staff put together at that time, but clearly, I mean, you've got to have a staff now. What's that staff looking like at this point?
Yeah, so I did have my full staff last time, a couple weeks ago, and we've actually had our full staff for the majority of the off season. We had one departure on the defensive side, but we easily replaced it from within. We actually, it's kind of crazy. We got about 5 or 6 new guys, and about 4 of them are out of towners, like first time Tremont residents. So I think that's pretty cool because they don't have the preconception of what happened in the past, and then we obviously have some guys that were on the state championship teams for Bear River on our staff, and so they have a very unique point of view on things, and really this community is awesome. I'm very thankful that we're by ourselves out here, so we don't have to fight with any other schools, and we can kind of dive into our tradition a little bit. So we do have a full staff, and we actually got some new volunteers coming out, and so I think excitement is still pretty high as of right now. Now we got to go win some games, obviously.
You got a bit of ways to go to kind of rebuild the program to what it was, 5 or 10 years ago. Like, It's like when it comes to this first year, obviously you can't always turn things around really quickly. But like, what would you consider a successful year in kind of year one as you're building this program back up?
I just want to see our kids compete. In my opinion, we got one of the toughest schedules in the state with our region. As you guys know, with all the Logan schools and their past. But, I do believe that we should be in every single football game that we have on our schedule. And really it's the culture piece that puts us past, other teams and gets us some wins on the board. But I hope that every single game we're within a touchdown or at least competing in the fourth quarter with anybody, even those top teams in our region. And hopefully we can, move into the playoff spots and try to try to make a move there. But really all I'm looking for is our kids learning how to win again and learn how to compete and actually believing in themselves that they can actually get the job done.
You mentioned Morgan. That's your home opener, season opener coming up this Friday. Looking at that non-region schedule, I mean, these are some pretty tough teams, and the great part is most of these games are at home for you guys, but these are teams in higher classifications and may pose some different challenges. When you're looking at that non-region schedule, and are you looking at teams with different styles that you want your team to go up against, or as a first-year head coach, you're just focusing on your kids and trying to get ready for that next week?
We're really just focused on our kids. I know a lot of those schools do very different schemes on both sides of the ball. Morgan's always tough. They got a good culture there. They're returning most of their linemen, so they're going to be big. They're going to be tough. So that'll be an awesome first challenge for our guys, to be kind of the undersized underdog. But like I said, then we got to go to Highland. Then we got to go, we got to play Clearfield. We got to play Box Elder, and they all do different things. But we're really just focused within right now, trying to go 1-0 each week. And we're just trying to find who's going to be playmakers for us and who's going to be reliable and who's going to be bought into the new system.
So you guys are looking like you're going to have to replace a lot of the offensive personnel from last season. And that's not a terribly unique thing in high school. I think there's a couple other teams in the region facing the same challenge. But yes, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge when it comes to replacing an entire unit that doesn't have a lot of starting experience?
The biggest thing is our quarterback's back. That always helps. So we got Riker Jepson coming back. He had some injury problems last year, but he's back, and I think he's one of the best players in our region, in my opinion. And so that always helps. We got 2 transfers on the offensive line that kind of fill in for those seniors that departed us. And the other 3, got a lot of meaningful snaps last year with all the injuries that Bear River had. And then we kind of, move some guys around into different spots that have been really playmakers for us when we went down to camp in Oregon. And so I'm pretty happy with what we got. We still got to find some playmakers in the receiver position, and we got some guys battling for the running back spot. But it always helps when your signal caller's back. And really, I think we got 2 guys that are pretty good at that. So it always helps.
So you mentioned Riker Jepson. I kind of want to ask about him because it looks like I've seen him listed both at quarterback and also potentially on the defense as a defensive back. Like, what do you expect his impact to be overall as, you mentioned one of your top returners?
Well, he was elected team captain when we went down for team camp, and he's a great guy that leads by example. He's one of our hardest workers in the weight room. He is a great defensive back. And so, as an offensive guy, I try to steal him for, on the side so I can talk to my QB. But, his impact, if we can keep him healthy, he's going to be, like I said, one of the top players in our region. He can go man to man, in the defensive backfield. He's had 2 years really to learn the quarterback position. And so, and he's gotten a lot stronger, and he's rehabbed those injuries. And so I expect a really big year out of him, and hopefully we can kind of tailor our offense to fit his, strengths. So I expect him to have a big year.
Yeah, we're talking to Trampis Waite. He's the new head coach for the Bear River Bears, getting ready for their home and season opener on Friday. The games will be broadcast on 104.9 The Ranch every game with Clint Payne and Jardine Nesson on the call. And Coach, when you kind of alluded to this earlier, but I just kind of want to circle back to it. As you've seen this team and you've gone through several weeks of camp with them and seeing what this team is made up of now, what would you say? How would you classify the strength of this team, this Bear River team, for this season?
I think we're really close as a team. Going about 6 hours away to team camp really helped us. We have a lot of fun, and we know when to focus. And like I said, all these kids are really hungry, and I think that's kind of our biggest asset right now is they are hungry for wins. They're hungry to be successful, and they're ready to turn the page. And I think this community is ready to turn the page on what happened last year, and so that's our biggest asset. Now we got to keep keep being hungry week to week. And we got to battle, like I said, with one of the top teams in 3A. Morgan's always going to be ready. And so we got to keep that hunger. We got to be relentless this Friday and really stay focused on our goals this year and what they want to accomplish. So.
You've mentioned youth football. I mean, in this interview and last time we had a chance to talk with you, you talked about building up youth football. And I guess I don't know if I want to ask, like, what's wrong with it, because that sounds a little too negative. But like, maybe if you're thinking, like, where they're maybe falling short, and kind of specifically, what are you trying to do to build up youth football around Bear River?
Really, it's all about numbers. It's all about keeping kids out for football. It's keeping excitement. And so, those youth programs, they run themselves. And parents are always involved, and the city's involved, and so there's always going to be a youth league. But this off season, we're actually having time to go down, and we actually, I brought about 15 high schoolers, and we did the fourth grade tryouts. We did a youth camp for 4th through 6th graders, where our high schoolers basically coached them up. We did a middle school camp, for 7th and 8th graders. And so really all I wanted to get done was I wanted them to see the Bear River Bears. I wanted them to actually have some hunger to be a Bear in the future, and hopefully to get a little bit more excitement out for their season. And then, we're going to do stuff during the season where they come up and they're a part of our locker room. They're a part of our pregame routine. And so I really just want to create excitement and keep going with that. And I want to keep numbers up because, every year you see a bunch of 8th graders, and then once they get 9th graders, you see those guys kind of trickle out, and then, you're left with 10 seniors like we have this year. And so really it's creating spots for them to have, be successful at the youth level so that they stay out for football. So I was really proud of all of our kids. All of our kids were bought into helping those little guys out, and the little guys loved it.
Well, that's a great opportunity for your players, too, to be involved and get into camps like that and share what they know, what they have learned. I think that's a really cool way to do that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was really pleased. They were, full energy. They jumped in just like coaches, and they even came to us and say, "Hey, coach, I wonder why you're frustrated now. Now I see it, because they were on the other side of it." So it's an interesting point of view that players don't always get. So.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, we're excited to see this new era of Bear River football. It's a great traditions there. A lot of history and great talent that's come out of that school. So excited to see how things go under this new era with you at the helm. And best of luck as your season gets going on this Friday.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.